Hey guys, Beast here once again with another set of different kinds of videos. So I will be doing map reviews. I'll basically be talking about how the map plays out in certain matchups. That would be TVZ, TVP, and TVT. So it will be mostly from Terran point of view, but I will also be mentioning how the other races will play and should play against you as well. I will be talking which third bases you should take, how you should properly wall off, and which points on the map will be basically what you want to contest for and where you want to be rallying your units, should you drop or should you not, and so on. So let's start with Bel'shir for the first video. The gameplay itself in this video won't matter too much. I will be focusing just on the map layout. So for example, on Bel'shir, you want to take your natural, obviously, when you fast expand. After that, you want to be walling off this as fast as you can. The reason for that is this map is a bit harder to wall off by the time you do your first push out. So you have to be careful on the link run-bys. For example, if you're doing 2-1-1 drop with stem, usually you're going to have your wall finished up to here, and then the Zerg can still run by. So it's something to just that you need to be careful of and have in mind when you're actually playing the game. There's a lot of discussion which third base Terran should take. Some people say that this should be your third base. Some people are more for this base as your third. Now, about 80 to 90% of Terrans take this one as their third. And I'll explain the reasons for that. Let's say you take this base, this is your third, and then what you want to do is wall off this as quickly as you can, so the Zerg can't do run-bys. But the problem is that even once you wall that off, what happens is, well, you have this walled off, there's a bunker here, maybe a wood mine for defense. You should by the way, on almost every map, on your third base, just make a bunker behind your supply depots, never in the wall itself, because it will be bane busted if you put it like this. Then it doesn't get much use. Now, the problem is getting this base in TVZ specifically is, even if we wall this off, Zerg can just go around and attack your third base anyway. So it's not, the wall off doesn't really make it run by proof, so to say. I mean, you can send reinforcements from here, but you'll always be struggling with losses, and which is why most people avoid that base. One thing to note is when you wall off your natural, no matter what the map is, you usually want to be rallying your units about here, where one of your supply depots is. The reason for that is there's no reason to rally your units in the main base, but on the natural it gives you quick point to go to your third wherever it's needed, or just push across the map straight up. And also, if the Zerg tries to run by into your natural, I mean, the units will be there to prevent it. Now, let's talk about this third base. So, most Terrans take this one as their third, and I'll explain why. So, first of all, because you take this one as a third, you want to wall off obviously here with supply depots, maybe make a bunker here. And if your rally of units is coming from here, it's pretty easy to reinforce your third if you need it. But also, the major thing why people take this base as a third is, well, because you're attacking this way. And the reason for that is, this is, if you look at the minimap, this is usually the Zerg's fourth base. If this is your third, well, the reinforcement path is very short, and you can reinforce and attack pretty quickly. Almost every game that I see, Zergs do go for this fourth base, so the main point on this map of fighting will be through this path area right here. So when you are attacking, you want to set off your wood mines like this, set them up everywhere, and then push with small amount of units into the fourth, and then force the Zerg to attack into you. So never, run in with all the units. Just do nice pre-splitting here with the wood mines, and then push in with small chunk of units and let the Zerg come and attack you. One thing to note is I'll be also mentioning the Watchtowers in each video. When you're attacking through this path into the Zerg fourth, this Watchtower actually doesn't have much of an impact for the game, because it doesn't really cover too much. It covers this path right here, but if the Zerg wants to run by, for example, on the bottom side, they can just do it this way and you won't even see it. So one thing to note is if you take this base as your third, if you look at the minimap, this is your third and rally of units is around here and you're pushing through this side. You have to be careful of Zerg doing run-bys from here into your natural. So I suggest to prevent that, just grabbing this watchtower just in case, but also putting one marine either here or here on, if you look at the minimap, and that way if you do see a run-by happen, you can, you know, lift the supply depots right here and still be safe against it. Now let's talk about this watchtower. This watchtower, when you're attacking through this pad, is incredibly important to take, in my opinion, because what that does is if the Zerg engages just from this side right here, they're probably going to lose the fight. I mean, we all know that Zerg needs to surround your units, have a good flank, and so on. So if they attack through kind of like a choke, they're going to lose. So Zerg most of the time will be attempting to flank you from this side, which is why taking this watchtower is extremely, extremely important, because then if you see the flank, you can prepare better. You know, instead of all your units, let's say you have groups of units like this, instead of all your units being focused this way, and you know, if you get flanked without seeing, you're just going to die and get crushed from both sides. But if you do know that the flank is coming, let's say your units are like this, you see the flank coming, you can reposition your units so you have an arc like this and then you have an arc like this, and then that way the Zerg comes into your arc and you deal the most damage possible and the banelings don't just AoE your units. While if you are not aware of the flank, your units will be having an arc like this, and then basically there would just be another like lines of arc of Marines, Marauders spread. So when he flanks, you'll just get, your army will just turn into one big ball and you're going to just get crushed by banelings. I would not suggest dropping too much on this map because the map is relatively short and it's pretty easy to defend your main base. You can't really drop the third base because it's covered by the natural, surrounded by the natural and the fourth. So the main base is a pretty obvious place to drop. Zerg will be expecting it, and like I said, the map is small. The mutas will be able to catch it up and just kill it pretty easily. Another point to make is Zergs don't usually like playing against this map because holding off the fourth base through this path is very hard, and also because actually the map itself does not have a lot of minerals, does not have a lot of bases, so long game for Zerg is not really viable. Okay, I'm just going to let this replay keep playing. Like I said, the gameplay doesn't matter too much. Let's talk about TVT. Once again, I think in TVT it's better to take this base, and the reason for that is this is your main, this is your natural. So if you take this base as your third, doom drops into your main become very hard. If you put the watchtower here, which if you look at the minimap will cover around this area, and then for the opponent it's going to be very hard doom dropping the main, which you guys know in TVT is probably the hardest thing to deal with. Even if you place like let's say 2-3 missile turrets like right here, even if he goes through the sensor tower, I mean he's going to be losing some medevacs and overall it won't be worth. While if you do decide to take this base as your third in TVT, what happens is, let me just, there we go. What happens is the doom drops in your main base will be extremely viable and extremely good. He can fake you out, like for example if he's pushing through this side, he can get the watchtower, you won't have any vision, you scan, the moment scan runs out, he can just load up and go straight for your main base, and pretty much, I mean, it's TVT, the game will end. As far as the early game builds go, TVT usually plays out with gas first on this map, simply because the map is relatively small, so fast expanding might be risky against double Reaper Cyclone builds. But as far as TVT matchup go, I mean, I feel like most of the games end up in doom drops anyway, but I do feel that taking the watchtowers is important, which let's say you're attacking this base as a Terran. If you have this watchtower and this watchtower, you will see a lot more. So if you're set up here, he scans you, you can just move, rotate to the other side, you can go straight to the natural, and he will never know because he has no map control. But if he had the watchtower, he would basically be able to see any of your movements if you try to rotate your army or anything like that. So yeah, TVT, I would suggest taking this third base. So tomb drops are less of a thing on this map, in this matchup. But yeah, other than that, the map is pretty straightforward for TVT. I wouldn't really say it's as annoying in TVT as on some of the other maps that I'll be talking about. And yeah, that's about it. Not much to talk about TVT, so let's move on to TVP. Okay. So TVP is played out usually with an Oracle. What happens is Protoss a lot of the time is pylon rushes on this map, so you have to be careful about that. Because the map is small, so there's a lot of pylon rushing on the ladder, followed up by proxy Stargate right here, because it gives really quick access to your main base for the Oracles. And yeah, basically you will meet pylon rushes the maps that are smaller, so you have to be careful of that. Other than that, harassing the Protoss is actually pretty decent on this map. There's a lot of dead space behind the main base, so you can fly your medevacs, drop widow mines, then pick them up, go back, wait for cooldown, or you can just pick up the medevac and go into the natural. So as far as the medevac usage goes, this map is very good for it. I wouldn't say it's that good for liberators. The only place where liberators are decent are, I guess, this side and this side. So that's the one of the things you can use against Protoss. Protosses will be taking this base as a third. So if this is their main base, this is their natural, this will be their third, which gives you some pretty good pushing potential, like split pushing potential. So I would suggest having playstyles that's relied on splitting your army in half, pushing with like 2-3 medevacs and units to this side, while loading up the medevac and dropping the main, forcing some pylon overcharges, waiting for them to expire, and then going in again. Again, having a watchtower in TVP, if you're on the bottom side, it will be really good to have this watchtower, because once again, it will allow you to, if you're attacking here, to rotate to the natural or go straight into the main base without the Protoss knowing. The observer's placements are usually, there's always one observer, like I would say like here, here, or here. So you can always try to blind scan it, even if you don't see the observer, to try to pick it off, which will enable you to drop in the main base. Attacking through the natural is not really too viable in this map. You can try like poke in maybe through here, but the Protoss units are generally in this area, so you won't have a lot of time to actually do any damage. Now, I think this map is decent for Oracles, even if they're not proxied, because you need the main base is pretty open, so you need 3 turrets or 3 points to cover this side, which is the ramp, and then this side in the natural. So Oracle play is pretty popular here. The map is also pretty good for Colossus in my opinion, but at the same time there's some points on the map that are very hard for Protoss. So for example, let's say you're pushing here, this is the Protoss third, his units are here, there's 2 pylons here. If you destroy these rocks as a Terran, push through this side, and if the Protoss is going Colossus, which is actually metagame right now in TVP, what happens is his units will be on this side, and then you can position your Vikings here on hold position, and they will be just shooting at Colossus. The Protoss can't really blink because there's all these ledges, so the only way for him to blink forward to pick off Vikings is here, which is your bayou is right here, so he has to kind of suicide his stalkers to pick off your Vikings. So that's one point of attack you want to be doing as a Terran player. Onto the third. Another point where you can do good timing pushes is, for example, if you deny the observer on this side, you rotate here, and the Protoss army, once it sees you, has to move here. your army is positioned this way, and then you put Vikings over the cliff again, shooting at the Colossus. And once again, the Blink Stalker can either go here, which then you rotate the Vikings on the other side, leaves the Colossus exposed, or he would, your army goes here, his army goes here, he would blink on this side, which then, to try to somehow pick off your Vikings here, then you just rotate and still you have free reign. But if the Protoss gets out, you know, on the open, for example, if he's attacking into your third, he can go from here, rotate all the way around, attack here. So there's a lot of paths Protoss can move in once the mid-game starts, but I think early in the game, if the Protoss is back in your base, it's pretty good for Terran because there's always places for the Vikings to shoot. And just try to, because the Protoss takes this third base, which is very far away from the main, try to abuse the drops as much as you can into the main base, because like I said, his army will be around this area, and that's, as you can see, pretty far away from the main. And yeah, that's it. This was my first map preview, so if you guys want me to add something, if I didn't touch on something, please let me know. I hope you guys enjoy this, and I will be uploading more map reviews today/tomorrow. So yeah, I want to thank you guys for watching, and the other maps will probably be linked somewhere above me. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you next time.